Hi everyone. Hello, hello. Today we've been having some technical difficulties. Can everybody hear me or see me? Hello. Let's see. Check. Mic check. If you can hear me, put it in the chat box, please. Sounds good. So I did schedule um, an event about analytical thinking and critical thinking, but I've run into some difficulties, and I'll be honest with you. I couldn't proceed with that, so I was thinking of canceling today's live session or postponing it. But I thought, why not just come online live with you and answer the questions that we had from last time? Last time we had many questions left that weren't answered in last time's session. So I thought maybe this is a good opportunity to go through the questions again. And if you have any, of course, questions that you would like answered on careers in engineering or specifically in electrical engineering, then please comment and let me know. Good. We'll give it a few seconds for more people to join us and then we'll make a start. Yes, I've got some messages, people telling me, are you going live? Yes, I am live now. Very good. It's good to see that a few of you are interested and eager to watch the lives and interact. That means a lot for me. That means a lot to me. Okay, excellent. So let's start with some of the questions from last time. A question that I get a lot is, should I become a technical expert or should I focus on leadership or should I pursue an opportunity in leadership? And my answer to that would be, it really depends on what you're after and what you're interested in. I really think that technical roles are now or today, in many cases, better paid and remunerated than leadership roles. And this is just from an observation from how the careers in substation design evolved so far. So the way I see it is, it depends on what you are interested in doing as an individual, what keeps you going, what makes you, or does um, what floats your boat basically, and what kind of thing do you enjoy doing, and what is it that you're good at, and what do you not enjoy. So some questions that you need to ask yourself. So it's about self discovery and finding out about these things that are related to your character and personality and interests. And then you take it from there. And it would help if you have a mentor or people around you that you look up to and depend on their guidance and seek their advice. There's nothing wrong with that. And I like to observe, the people who are successful and the people who are ahead of me and the people that I look up to professionally and personally, and see what they are doing and try to observe what they're doing, what can I learn from them, etc., etc. So these would be my direction for this. If I want to choose between a technical role and a managerial or a leadership in engineering role, then I would probably see and ask myself these questions about what I'm interested in, what I enjoy, and then see what kind of opportunities are ahead of me or in front of me to try out and test and see where it takes me. So far, I have been in technical roles and I have been in engineering management roles, and I do enjoy a bit of both. So I do like technicalities, if you like. Not so much lately, but I would say that me personally, I figured out that I enjoy working with people. I enjoy organizing big work streams of work. I enjoy working on challenging projects, on bigger challenges and problems, and so I've pursued the engineering management and leadership in engineering route, and that's what I felt would benefit or would suit my character. I like coordination. I like talking to people. I like working with people, different people, and I like also change. So this is why I focused on developing, communication skills, leadership skills, and building my personal brand as a lead engineer, etc. And all the best. How do engineers avoid burnout and stress? Uh, it's a very personal question. A lot of people are after or maintain a work-life balance, and this is how they avoid burnout and stress. And it's about also knowing what they want in life, whether at their different stages in their career want to give time for family, for other interests, or for work. And I believe it starts with identifying and understanding what is that kind of balance that you're trying to strike in your work, in your life, in your career. But also, it's important to have interests. It's important to have means that you are employing or using to de stress, to alleviate that pressure, and do something that you enjoy. That's very important as well. Now, it's also about educating yourself and finding out what can put pressure on you as a person, what can stress you out, and what helps you alleviate that stress. And of course, avoiding burnout is by knowing your limits and setting your limits and sticking to what actually works for you as a balance, as we said. Uh, the thing that helped me the most was having interests such as writing, journaling, making videos like these, connecting with people, learning new things. So I have many, many hobbies and interests. So that's why people can say that, I'm always relaxed, but there's nobody who's always relaxed. It's about finding that balance and knowing your limits as a person. And it's an important topic, and it's one of the biggest challenges in the modern day. It's the one thing that I would say is a priority, well-being, and I like to view everything through wellness, really. And when it comes to work, you can ask the people who I work with or work with me. I always tend to start any discussions with asking about whether people are enjoying what they're doing or not. How could we make it more fun? How could we make it more engaging and less stressful? But life in general is stressful. That's just part of life. So we have to learn how to cope with it. And all the best. What is the most effective way to find mentors and build professional relationships? So these are two questions, but they're good questions. You can find mentors everywhere and anywhere. There are websites now that provide that professional mentorship service, and you could pick and choose which mentors you want to work with and probably find those social proof of how other people who worked with them rated them as mentors, which is good. I find that really good because it's not just about the mentee, it's also about how effective and how useful is the mentor. A mentor has to be up to date, they have to be stay relevant and stay up to date on what's happening in the world today, in the workplace, in the modern workplace, with Gen Z, with everybody across the different generations that are working together in the current workplace. So you can find mentors on these websites online, or you can find them through professional and industry organizations. So things like the IET, the Institute of Mechanical Engineers, the Institute of Civil Engineers, and other professional bodies and organizations. So you could find mentors there as well. You could also seek mentorship within the organization you're working in. So try to reach out to the people who are perhaps ahead of you and not necessarily in the same department. They could be in different departments. But the ideal scenario is to find some kind of senior person whom you trust in your department, or at least related to the line of work that you're in. And that would be, in my opinion, an ideal situation. And if your mentor is your line manager, that's also great because then they can help you a lot more. And but not everybody is having their line manager as their mentor for many reasons, because work is work, and there will be a level of mentorship, of course, through that kind of professional relationship. But at the same time, many people might feel comfortable or more comfortable to have a mentor or more than one mentor outside of their organization, and that's understandable. How do you build professional relationships? I think you need to understand that any relationship is built on mutual benefits and um, um, an exchange of ideas, an exchange of um, I don't know, knowledge, experience, etc., etc. So if I am a mentor, or when I am a mentor, I'm looking really for, first of all, giving back to the industry and to the community in general. But also, I find joy in helping people. So I want to help the individual. But I'm also interested in learning how people think and how people approach different scenarios, different circumstances, and how do they take career decisions. Because at the end of the day, I am a line manager and I want to understand more about the people I work with and my colleagues and everybody. So that's something of interest to me. And I need to stay up to date on that through these regular interactions with people. So that's for the mentor. For the mentee, of course, you're given direction, advice, experience. And I always use the analogy of, the mentorship for me is like jumping into a car and deciding to travel down a route that you haven't traveled before without a sat nav. So having a mentor is like having that sat nav. You could always go on your journey on your own. There's nothing stopping you of doing that. Or you could use a map. But having the sat nav, especially if it's connected and up to date, etc., will help you navigate easier and faster, quicker, and more efficiently. So yeah, I hope that answered your question or two questions. How do I deal with self doubt about my technical abilities? We all deal with self doubt. We all doubt ourselves. That's, well, many of us do anyway, regardless of where we are and how competent we might be, etc. We all experience self-doubt, and it is called the imposter syndrome. Look it up. It's an important concept to understand and try to be conscious of when we are, talking to ourselves internally, of course. So there is always going to be self-doubt, but how I deal with self-doubt, and I've written on this an article in the past, so you can find it on my LinkedIn page. But I deal with self-doubt through, first of all, understanding that this is a feeling, it's an emotion, and it's normal, and I don't beat myself up too much about it. I just, take it easy in terms of emotions and feelings, and I acknowledge that I feel this. But I also know that it's temporary. And then over the years, I got used to really feeling this and then moving into action. So I would rather focus on a forward action and take that energy and put it into, or divert it into, useful action that takes me forward. So if I have a self doubt about, let's say, my ability to communicate something, well, I go and read about it and research about it and learn more on how to communicate it and write it down and rehearse it and practice it. And the same for technical abilities. So if I feel that I'm weak in certain area technically, then I'll go study it, research it, ask people about it. And one thing that helped me massively is asking people. I don't feel shy or embarrassed from asking the stupid questions. I don't mind at all. So self-doubt is normal, but you have to acknowledge it and then move on and turn it into an action that closes the gap that you think you have, which in most cases is not as bad as you would think. So we tend to usually, or as many of us, I'm not saying all of us, but many people are like that, and especially many engineers who always know that there's always something, better. There's always someone who's more knowledgeable, of course, and imposter syndrome is real. Okay. We have a couple of questions. Let's see. So, in the context of interviews, I have come across this. I've benefited a lot from your advice. Thank you so much. Appreciated. That makes me so happy. Thank you. In the context of interviews, I have come across this issue where the interviewers are reluctant in giving any really trick to improve my surveying, such as how to politely ask for feedback. Yeah, so I've covered this before as well in a training or in a live session on LinkedIn. So you can refer to, and it's specifically about feedback. But you can watch it on Substack and read the article for the whole, set of information on this. But in short, I would make sure that the feedback is very short and specific. So I ask direct and specific questions, and I thank them for the opportunity. And I really tell them that I would really appreciate the feedback because it will help me improve. Now, a lot of people are reluctant in giving feedback. I don't think so. I think it's just a matter of people being busy, and I'm not giving excuses for anybody. It's not an excuse. But at the same time, people might feel, worried that candidates might take it the wrong way. They might not have enough time to get back to them in detail or meaningful detail. They might be worried that the candidate, as I said, takes it the wrong way, or they could really not have any feedback because competition is fierce in some cases. On some roles, we interview people and a lot of them are very, very, very similar. And maybe the top candidate who gets chosen is just only a little bit ahead of others. And it is what it is in that sense. So the others did not have any failures or shortfalls. We've done that. We've done that as well. How do I set realistic expectations for my growth and avoid comparing myself to others? So, first of all, if you're comparing yourself to others, again, that's normal. That's human behavior. but I wouldn't compare myself to others in the wrong way. So you of course look to others and how they're successful, and what they've achieved, and their demeanor, and their attitudes, and their work ethic, and you admire that and you learn from that. That's the kind of useful comparison that I would recommend. When you look at somebody and find the trait that you like, try to learn it. Try to get mentored by that person. Try to ask them for advice. Try to observe what are they doing differently, and what are they avoiding. And these would be the the comparison points that I would put. But comparing is harmful when you are, again, beating yourself up or criticizing yourself, or comparing where you are in your career to others. That's not useful, because at the end of the day, it's not really that objective, in my opinion. So it's not a linear thing. Career progress is not. You could look at people, let's say, the same age as you are, and think that you're not ahead just because of titles or other topics, but that's not necessarily, and doesn't reflect uh, a certain status or a certain aspect that really means something, that has a meaning. These things are really, really subjective, and careers are not linear, and no two careers are the same. So try to not compare yourself in a negative way to anybody, and try to learn from people, of course, look up to people, of course, and get the useful aspects and behaviors and actions that they carry out, and learn from them and get mentored by them. In terms of realistic expectations, I would say anything that is as specific as possible and as achievable as possible in the timeline that you set for yourself. Now, of course, there are the SMART targets, specific, measurable, actionable, realistic, and timely, or timed, which is fair enough. You could think of that. But for me, a realistic expectation is something that I really know how to achieve. Not fully, at least, or at least partially. So I could do a bit of discovery on how to achieve it. But for me, a realistic expectation has to be something that I could work on, and something that is not more than one or two steps ahead of where I feel I am. So I wouldn't put, let's say, aim. If I'm an engineer, I wouldn't aim to be a principal engineer straight away. I would aim to become a senior engineer first, or a team leader first, or gain more experience first. So I would focus on the things that I can really gain short and maybe medium term. Putting an expectation for the longer term is good as a goal, but in many cases it might not be realistic. So we have to be aware of that when setting goals for growth. But to also help you with that more, I would say put targets for every 6 months and every year and every 2 years, but don't plan. I wouldn't plan for anything longer than 2 years. I think there is a lot of ebbs and flows in business and in life, that planning more than 2 years ahead is probably not realistic, at least for someone like me, of my character. Okay. When and how should I consider changing jobs or companies? I think you should not consider changing jobs until there is something really, really compelling to do so. And I see people make this mistake a lot. The grass is not usually greener on the other side. Look, we all change jobs and companies, but at the same time, doing it too often is not really a good sign. it doesn't really reflect well in many cases, but in some cases it makes total sense and it's gotta have to happen. So it really depends on the personal case and the circumstances and what people are going through and what people are looking for. So you could be of a certain type of character that you try things first and you're a bit hesitant and then you settle when you find the thing that you're looking for. But in most cases, in that regard, I don't think you will ever find the perfect scenario. There is no such thing as a perfect workplace. So changing jobs should be done very wisely. Changing companies, I mean, it should be done very wisely. Changing jobs, you can, companies, you can change jobs within companies. Again, for me, you cannot do that too often. Otherwise, you harm your experience, you harm your CV, you harm your profile as an engineer. For considering in terms of timelines, I don't think you should leave a role before finishing the project or the assignment or whatever you're working on, because and that could differ. So in some projects it's 5 years, in some other projects that's 2 years, and that's the minimum resolution time, I would call it. But this is important because if, let's say, you're working on a project that takes 2 years to complete and you end up leaving a year into the project, well, you haven't really experienced the closing stages and you haven't understood the full impact of what you do, the decisions you took as an engineer, the designs or whatever work you've created and contributed to as an engineer, and you couldn't get the return on experience at the end and learn the lessons from completing and finishing the roles at the end. So this is where that timing is important. You need to understand the timing for the projects and the assignments and the type of work and the nature of work you're in, and then measure against that. And that is, of course, in my opinion, because I wrote about this before many times, and every time there's always somebody attacking me, or you could all disagree. That's not a problem. We can disagree. We can agree to disagree politely. But that is my opinion, and I've seen it harm people's potential and people's opportunities. Someone is asking a question, okay, because these are sometimes personal questions, so I wouldn't put them on the screen. But someone is asking in the chat, I am struggling to find a job in the UK. I am a postgraduate. Okay, please guide me. Again, I've made a video, written a lot about how people find engineering work or engineering jobs in the UK, whether they're from the UK or outside. From the outside of the UK as a graduate, it's tricky because you need to have experience for companies to be able to sponsor you. Otherwise, why would a company need to sponsor someone who doesn't have the right to work and incur costs when there are graduates over here? So there is a shortage, of course, at the moment, and it's a skilled and experienced people that the companies are after. So it's gotta be a valuable experience. But when you're a graduate in the UK, you can liaise with early career managers, with hiring managers, with, again, your university liaison. There's going to be a person in the university who works with the industries, with the companies, with the different employers to help them find talent within the university, or help the talent within the university land graduate and new entry jobs. So best of luck to you, and I hope that you find a good opportunity soon. and you can go back to the video and watch it. I go into more detail on that. How do I handle disagreements with engineers and challenge discussions respectfully? So first of all, disagreements can happen, but they have to happen politely. So stay polite, stick to the facts. Also understand and read the room. It wouldn't be a good disagreement, or you wouldn't want to challenge a colleague in front of others. There's no reason for that. You certainly wouldn't want to come across as disrespectful or unappreciative or whatever. So try to make sure that you frame your message carefully, and that involves understanding the person in front of you. So that engineer, how do they think? Try to understand their character. What kind of feedback do they accept? What kind of criticism do they reject? And try to shape your message accordingly. At the end of the day, engineers would want to listen to the technical facts, and if you have a strong case technically, then there is nothing to fear and nothing to be weary of. But at the same time, you have to understand that anything is subject to an agreement, disagreement, especially technically, especially in many areas in engineering. There are certainly, most of the time, there are more than one way to do the thing. So you got to be aware of that as well. And try to frame the benefits in what you're saying, and try to put your point across, as I said, politely, but very clearly, very specifically in terms of benefits, in terms of the obstacles that it helps overcoming. And you could challenge technical decisions respectfully, as I said, by understanding how does that person accept the feedback. So some of us accept feedback in front of others, other people won't have it. You'd be breaking the relationship if you criticize them or challenge them in front of others. So try to pick your time, pick your environment, pick the right moment, and also frame it in a helpful way. Don't frame it in a condescending or patronizing way, or even threatening way. Just make sure that it is very well put to the person or to the engineer. And sometimes you need to think about whether it's really worth it to disagree. I mean, sure, but if it's not wrong, then try to think of how you want to be framing your message. How can I land a job in another country? Um, Look, I can only talk about the UK. I worked in Saudi Arabia, I worked in Egypt. You can land jobs in other countries if you have good experience, if you can communicate well in the language that that country or that workplace needs and speaks. So for me, it's about language skills, it's about experience. 100%, I think it's experience and the skill sets, of course. But then you can learn about the other country and try to understand the regulations, the different standards, specifications, the different nuances on aspects of the job, of the same job in that country, so that when you get in interviews you can talk about it more and you can demonstrate that you have a keen interest in that place, and that you have done your research and that you are eager to learn, and you are also showing the potential that you're a quick learner. So these are the things, because every country is different in terms of a kind of working culture. But again, the world is very connected now, so things are really, really similar, more than you think. And you have to focus on, as I said, communication. If you cannot communicate well, you're going to struggle. You're going to struggle big time. and you're probably not going to find a good opportunity. And if you do, if you end up taking that opportunity, you will find it very difficult. Communication is everything. I have a question here saying, this is the first time joining the live stream. Still power system real. It's a very long question. I'll try to summarize it. Find myself switching from one software to another based on a job. My direction is blurred. Okay. So, first of all, if your direction is blurred, it means that you need to sit down and just identify or write down what is it you want. So, try to understand what you're good at and what is it you want to be doing and where do you want to get to. And it's not really a firm plan, it can change all the time. But when you do that, you kind of take the first step towards planning for your career. And then you identify what are the actions that you need to take, whether it's a skill set that you need to pick up, is it some sort of experience that you need to learn? And you can assess whether, your current role, what can you learn in your current role? That's what you need to focus on. So you are in a job already. How do you improve? How do you solve problems? What can you learn? What more work can you do, and what different roles can you carry out? What other interfaces can you manage? How can you collaborate with others in your role? So these are all things that you need to explore in your current role. And the more you do of that, or the more you explore in your current role, and the more you get done in your current role, the more doors will open for you, the more opportunities will come to you. Sometimes we're not even aware or conscious of opportunities. And when we get involved and engaged and interact more within the workplace, within our environment, and collaborate with others, and get ourselves out there, get people to know about us and about our personal brand, etc., then you will find opportunities that you didn't even think existed. And that's the beauty. I don't have a job. I've never worked before. Okay, fine. Then your first step is to find a role. Okay, is to find the job and apply to jobs and apply to entry level jobs, as we said and discussed many times before. Someone is asking about sponsorship. Entry level, it's very difficult. So I don't know. I mean, I cannot answer questions on sponsorship for a lot of companies, etc. But usually, as I explained to you, why would a company in another country sponsor someone who hasn't got the experience? They could sponsor someone local for that, or they could hire someone local, and they would hire someone local for that. So sponsorship is costly, and it really, really needs to be justified by the experience and skills shortage. That's how it works, I think, mostly in the UK anyway. Of course, views are my own. They don't represent any employer. They don't represent anybody else. These are just my views, please. Yeah. Which short courses are recommended for design roles? So there are many courses out there for primary and secondary. You can search in substation design. You can search for, I will put it on my page, but you can search for these courses. I don't recommend any courses because I haven't been on any of these courses. I have learned on the job and from mentors. So I will advertise about courses soon as well. How do I apply for the design position other than primary? I don't understand the question. I'm sorry. If you could repeat your question again. It's the first time someone's saying, first time joining this live stream. Very good. Thank you. Welcome on board. If you have any questions, just put them in the comments. I don't have a job now. Okay, I have a question. What can I... Okay, let's put this question on. A lot of questions today. Good. Please keep them coming. So Haider says, I'm an electrical engineer working design the systems in the oil and gas. Is it oil and gas, including lighting, cables, transformers, switchgear? What can I do to get more experience in this kind of job working? Thanks in advance. Well, you seem to be already doing the right thing, which is carrying out more of these projects. And I know sometimes it can become repetitive, but repetition is important because this is where you build the experience and you hone your skill sets. Okay, we've done that. We've done that. Okay. What is the best way to plan for my career progression? So, I did a training, and I do a training about career planning every now and then. If you would like to be sent that video and guide for career planning, let me know in the comments. Just write interested or something. But basically, you need to understand more about yourself. As we always said, we keep repeating it. What do you like? What sort of things do you want to do? What is it you're good at? What do you enjoy? What are you naturally gifted at? And then identify the gaps to what you want to be doing or where you want to be. So if it's a skill set, if it's an experience, etc., etc., and then you carry out these activities in a timely and enough spread, let's say, manner. So you need to make sure that, as we said, it's realistic and it's achievable. And that would be my way. And I wouldn't plan for more than 2 years ahead. Okay. How is working on big complex projects different? It makes the whole big difference. Big projects will have more interfaces, will have more problems, will have more constraints, will have more requirements, will have more stakeholders, bigger budgets. I mean, it's completely different than smaller projects. With all due respect, of course, for every project, but big complex projects will open up your mind and develop a lot of things in your character and in your skill set as an engineer. It will help you learn how to prioritize. It will help you learn how to be persistent. It will help you learn how to be more organized. Lots of questions about landing jobs in the UK. Look, I've got videos, and so I've made a video. Check it on my page, please. I've also written an article about how people can land jobs in the UK, and that's again in my Substack. So go to the Substack, read it there, because I keep repeating it. But you are saying that you want to shift strong knowledge of IC and British standards. That's good. If you have knowledge of IC and British standards, you have the knowledge that is being applied in UK projects. So back to complex projects, they are, of course, they involve more people. So that means you learn more on communicating within complex teams, within more complex projects. And this is all, or these are all important traits for leadership roles in engineering. So it makes a big difference if you work on big projects. You would be really lucky to work on big projects and learn on big projects. That's my opinion. I'm gonna have to wrap it up in a couple of minutes, so I'll take maybe one or two more questions. If you have, do you have any questions? Put them in the comments. How can one learn substation design? I think we've already answered this now, but again, you learn substation design. If you're entry level, then you need to land a role within a substation design company. You need to be mentored by the right people. There are courses out there, but I would always advise people who don't know about substation design to check out YouTube and Google topics. There is a lot of material out there, and there is no excuse for anybody to say that they didn't find something to learn from. There is loads of stuff out there, more than enough. And then you go and learn from these stuff, or view them and try to consume them and try to learn from them, and then you can ask questions. But really, substation design will be learned the best by applying. So you gotta be in a graduate or in an internship or in an early career role within a company that can develop that kind of competence for younger engineers. Okay. Keep an eye on the graduate roles that we're opening up. So if you look at the Orius page where I work and look at their careers page, you'll find lots of opportunities, I'm sure. How can I send an effective message to recruiters? I think any effective message, I assume on LinkedIn. You're asking because this question came on LinkedIn, so I assume it's on LinkedIn. Or is it email? I'll cover both. So if it's on LinkedIn, you gotta make sure that you understand that LinkedIn is a social media platform in a way. It's a professional network, but it's also a bit of a social media. So people might not be necessarily open for direct messaging, and those who are already are. They you will find out that they are. They can respond, or they might respond positively, negatively, whatever. But there will be some kind of response. I don't mean a negative response, but I mean like a polite decline. So if you're sending messages, avoid the standard copy paste nonsense, because honestly, I get messages that are complete nonsense. Saying that someone is inspired by something, and it doesn't make sense. Honestly, if you read the message, it doesn't make sense. So try to craft a strong message that is really, really to the point. If you're asking a question, make sure it's specific, it's short, it's to the point, it's polite, of course. As I said, DMing, you gotta understand, the social media aspect of LinkedIn. This is people's private space as well. So respect people's time, respect their, private space. If they're not answering, then they're probably not interested. Leave them alone, please. If you're going to follow up, do it, but do it in a polite way. Do it in allowing them enough time to actually action, because most people are busy on LinkedIn. They're busy people. Those hiring managers, they are busy people. They're always looking for talent, and they will be looking for good people like you. But you got to make sure you show that you are one of those good people, those good experiences, people with experiences, people that could add to the team, etc., etc. So try to be short, be courteous, polite, and make it clear what you're asking for, or what you are strong at, and how you are setting yourself apart from the competition. And of course, if you're sending a message, an email, then you have to thank them for the opportunity. We covered that in a video about feedback, but you gotta thank them for the opportunity. Thank them for their time. Maybe mention something that you found beneficial or helpful, or you quite enjoyed or admired, and just make sure you tell them they're doing a good work. But then be very specific about what you want. So if it's staying in touch, which is great, because sometimes, and I've said this to many people who ask me when they are not getting offered at the final stages, etc., after being interviewed, I told them, well, if you're falling short, it might be just a matter of timing. Maybe there's a stronger candidate and it's just luck. And then if you stay in touch in the right way, in the polite way, you will stay, in that recruiter's mind, and they will remember you. So there's a high chance of that. So again, staying in touch politely over a period of time, not spamming people with messages every day asking about opportunities. That's not right. I get sometimes people just messaging me with their CVs. That's it, and they don't say anything. And other times, people send saying hi or hello, and it's not a chatting site. So you gotta be very, very concise. You gotta be very direct. You gotta be professional and polite, and that's how you send effective messages. People are asking me about you're asking about PhD. I am not the person to ask about a PhD. I am not a PhD, so I'm not in. I don't think I'm in the best position to advise or talk about PhDs. I'm sorry. There are people out there who are more and more um, worthy of your time to talk about PhDs. But I would say I would love a PhD one day, maybe. Is there a PhD in me? I don't know. We'll see. I doubt it. I have another question. I'm still a young engineer. I want to learn about renewable energy. I had a plan to schedule time. I don't understand the question. You want to learn about renewable energy, or you don't have time to learn about it? I don't. Your question says you want a plan to learn. There's lots of material. I answered this question earlier. Lots and lots of material on YouTube, on the internet. Okay, and there are going to be errors and things that are wrong out there, but that's okay. If you're starting out, it's good to learn from YouTube videos and books, and just check out what the CGRE does or publishes, the IEEE, all these publications. Follow people on LinkedIn and ask them questions. People who work in the renewable sector. So there's a lot of course, hype about renewables, and there's a lot of good things. There's also a lot of challenges, and there's a lot of questions that need to be answered. So don't uh, approach everything with an open mind, and just start somewhere. I don't think I'll put your question on the screen. I don't think. No, it's not this question. It's this one. I don't think you need to spend a lot of time planning for something like that. Just pick the thread somewhere. Start. Find something and get started. Okay? And learn, even if you learn in small increments, that's good. And try to apply. If it's through AutoCAD or MicroStation, or if you're interested in studies, you could enroll in studies courses and get access to these study software licenses and learn from them. So there's a lot that you could learn online. So don't wait for anybody, and don't wait for the perfect moment, because there's no such thing. Right, let's go back and clear this question. Someone is asking me how to prepare for placement. I don't know what that means. Please clarify. Do you mean a student placement or work placement, or? Okay. There is a question that I get. I have a technical interview, how to prepare. I think, again, I've done a video on this, but there are three parts of the interview that you need to be prepared for. And the first part is introducing yourself. Try to find a memorable way to introduce yourself. Try to find a way that invokes a good emotion, a good feeling for the interviewers. So if you are someone who has an impressive or a good story of overcoming obstacles, bring it up. Okay, talk about it. Say that you've spent 12 years working in this and this, in this and this environment with these and these constraints, and these were the results that you achieved. there is another trick. You could research the interviewers, find out who is interviewing you, if you could. If not, fine. But if you could, think about those interviewers and find out about their LinkedIn profiles and find out how they progressed and try to find something in common. So that could be a memorable thing. And I don't know if it's cheating, but if someone, for example, worked for ABB and I worked for ABB, and then I'm in the interview, I would say, like yourself, I worked for ABB and this is where I learned blah, 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 blah. So they could then say, oh, yeah, that's relatable. So they will remember you. So that's the first part. So try to put something interesting or clever, not too clever, but clever enough in your opening statement. And the second part is, of course, the dialogue, the questions. They're going to be asking you about things in your CV, in the job description, or related to the job itself. And there are technical questions, there are HR or personnel related questions, and there are questions related to behavior, related to pattern recognition, to analytical thinking, critical thinking, creativity. So these are all things that you could find questions for everywhere and rehearse and practice for them. But I would also say for the technical questions, they are about trying to find out whether you are the person who could carry out the role. Yeah. So they want to find out. That's what they are going to find out, and they want to give you the job. That's what they're here for. So try to address the points on the job description with a relevant example from your experience that shows how you achieve a result really quickly. So think about that. And again, I've explained this methodology in a video before. You can refer to it. And then the third thing, or the third part of the interview, where you are going to be asked about your expectations, whether you have any questions. So make sure you're prepared for that as well, and that you have something in mind and that you've done your research about your expectations in terms of a salary, in terms of other aspects. And whether you have questions, because interviews are also about you finding out whether you are, whether they are the right fit as a company for you. You need to find out about the employers you're going to be working for. So this is important as well. Don't just go into interviews and think that it's all about testing you. It's not a test. It's all about assessing you. No, I think you need to also assess them. You need to understand more. This is your opportunity to understand more about them as much as you could before signing that paper. And if you have an interview tomorrow, you should be preparing for it yesterday, not today. But okay, fine. We're all lastminute.com and we're all in a rush. So no judgment here. That was only a joke. So try to focus on the strengths, try to be clear with examples, try to prepare talking points that you shouldn't just be falling short. The worst thing about an interview or answering questions in an interview is falling short. Don't do that. Keep explaining, keep branching out and going into more detail. Usually, the interviewer will be trying to assess whether you are into an adequate level of detail, because everybody can write anything on their CV. Everybody can write absolutely anything and everything on their CV. However, it's only the people who carried out the role and who went into an adequate level of detail that will know about the role, will know about the work, will know about the obstacles, the challenges, the problems, the common themes, what works, what doesn't work. These are the important things. This is what makes a candidate rank above others and set themselves apart from the competition easily. And best of luck with your interview. I really wish you the best. and I hope that you do very, very well in your interview, and don't forget to ask for feedback, of course. And that would be it. So, do we have any other questions in the chat before we call it a day? And let's go through it one more time, but please write your questions in the comments, because I'm now gonna conclude. And until next Thursday. By the way, tell me in the comments if you enjoyed this session as much as I did. I did really enjoy it, and I really, really like your questions. Please keep them coming. So if you have any other ideas, suggestions, something in particular you want me to cover in my next videos, please let me know in the comments. And until then, I thank you so much for your time. I appreciate your engagement and your questions. Please keep them coming. And until then, stay safe, stay curious, and all the best.